I came to BMS about 5 years ago, and I was attracted to the company by its mission to discover, develop, and deliver innovative medicines that help patients prevail over serious disease. The patients permeate everything that's done here in the company. You can really feel that when you talk to colleagues. It's very personal. Everybody knows someone who's been touched by one of the diseases or one of the medicines that we're trying to develop to help people get over the disease.
I joined Bristol Myers Squibb in 2014. I understood the connection between the company and the employees and the patients during my initial engagements with BMS. And actually at the time, my mother was being treated for breast cancer. And I found an ironic connection because one of the medicines she was being treated with was one that Bristol Myers Squibb had developed, which meant something personal to me. So very valuable connection for me.
My name is Anne Marie Lapsinski, and I'm currently the Vice President of People Services at Bristol Myers Squibb. And what that means is I have responsibility for HR operations for our colleagues located globally around the world.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Black. I am the Senior Director of the Core HR and Payroll Service Line at Bristol Myers Squibb. That means I am the global process owner for the end-to-end processes from time of hire through termination. Plus I own the global payroll processes, time and absence, and other things as assigned.
My first paycheck, because it was probably when I was in high school and I had my first job working the delicatessen, actually. Paycheck was very simple back then because there wasn't much going on in my career or in that role. It's much more complicated now.
My first paycheck, I do remember high school, is when I received my first paycheck. I was a hostess at a restaurant on the beach. And I was quite thrilled. I think it totaled to something like $50. It was wonderful.
I don't consider myself a payroll professional. I consider myself a services professional. It's important that we do our job really well so others can do theirs. So scientists can discover drugs. So our colleagues in manufacturing can deliver them. So our commercial sales reps, they can be the ones out there making sure patients can get access to our medicines. In order for them to focus on their job, it's really important that they're not worrying about, in this case, whether they're going to get a paycheck, whether it's going to be accurate, whether it's going to be in their bank on time. So for me, it's really important that the services professionals do what they need to do so that the rest of the business can do what it needs to do.
So my path to payroll was through Six Sigma work that I did. Managing process end-to-end, doing implementations and process design for new HR systems led me into the introduction to working with payroll. The Six Sigma background that I have certainly has helped me and gave me the training and the knowledge I needed to ask the right questions, think about it from an end-to-end perspective, and really focus on training others to make sure they're thinking end-to-end process when they think about payroll. We acquired a company named Celgene, which was going to add significant size of employees and companies to the full population of what we were servicing in payroll. One of the key things with the acquisition was making sure that we were able to grow with scale and without any interruption to our employees as they were going about doing their day-to-day work.
We didn't get one payroll, but we have, as we said, one global management structure, one way of reporting and efficiencies for our team. In this global payroll role that Kelsey's in now, as you've heard, was really pivotal. Some of the background she has around Six Sigma, et cetera, is what led us to take the opportunity or to grasp the opportunity that was laid in front of us.
We did have to, in essence, expand in 20 plus countries with the acquisition of Celgene. And some of the concerns we had going into this, if I think about it from a payroll perspective, was making sure that we could do this without interruption to the payroll services that those employees receive, regardless of whether they were from the acquiring Celgene companies or from Bristol Myers Squibb historical companies. So maintaining stability for our employees was of the utmost importance. And then as we go through the process of integrating and pulling in multiple payroll systems in a particular market, for example, making decision to harmonize to one system and harmonizing our processes, we need to make sure that as we do that, we're impacting as little change impact as possible to the employees. And one of our guiding principles was only impact the employee once. And we've tried to live by that as we've made our changes.
What's important to understand about the Celgene integration is payroll was only one part of it. We were integrating the whole of the company. And so when you think about what's going to land in a market, it was a finance integration, it was benefits integration, it was changes in payroll. We wanted to make sure that the employee felt that change, but they felt it once. We weren't hitting them multiple times as we moved through the integration. Normally, when you go through an RFP process, the financial incentive is one of the biggest criteria. In the case of payroll, not in the case of the Celgene acquisition, but in the case of payroll, we weren't so focused on financial gain because we already had a fairly a robust financial situation with payroll. But what we were focused on, and where I think ADP made the difference, is in the value-added services that they could bring. We were keenly interested on providing a better experience for our employees, having them understand their payroll better, having them get visibility to payroll information much easier than they had done, and also, of course, having efficiencies for our team in the way they delivered the payroll. Those were key for us as we went through the selection process.
We have seen gains and satisfaction from our employees with the decisions we made using ADP as this partner.
Yep.
The My View, My Pay is something that really many of our US employees especially enjoy that experience.
Yes.
And we're very lucky to have a relationship with the ADP account managers and project managers that have been partnered with us to where we do hold each other accountable. We have clear communication. We talk about problems and get them on the table quickly so that we can quickly work together. And I think that's very key, is working together to solve the problems and understand what all of our options are when faced with a problem.
I would build on that because I've worked with ADP for about 10 years now, prior to Bristol Myers Squibb. And that is one thing that, for me, differentiates ADP with some of the other providers that we work with in different service areas. It's the way they collaborate with us, and as well as the way they hold us accountable. Because I do believe being a good customer is really important to the relationship. There is always going to be things we disagree on, things we thought we should have gotten that didn't find their way into the written contract. It's a commercial relationship at the end of the day, but ADP has always been willing to have that conversation with us. They enter the conversation with an open mindset. They don't enter the conversation with the contract in mind. They never use the word contract, which to me is hugely impressive. So we have a conversation around what are you trying to achieve? How can they help us achieve it? And they are really clear what they can do and what they can't do. And that's really important because sometimes you don't get the what I can't do piece, and you end up with different expectation problems or gaps as well. But ADP is crystal clear on that. BMS and ADP together, we recognize that we can provide a solution that meets our objectives and delivers against our requirements. They're very open to that. And I think it's one of the reasons that we have the successful relationship that we do.
As a result of the implementation of the ADP Global View for the United States, and then My View, My Pay, we actually received phone calls from employees that said, hey, this pay statement's really neat. I like this. A lot of our employees were engaged and very pleased and very positive about the ability to log in, see a pay statement that they can interact with, look at the results in different ways and see a dashboard. And that was cool. And we had employees saying, hey, this is cool. And I think that's the first time in my life I've heard that about payroll.
Yeah. Well, and it enabled, the thing for me personally with the dashboard, it enabled you to interact. So we used to get just, you could print your pay stub if you wanted to, but the dashboard that ADP provides enabled us to interact with it. So you could see pie charts, but more important, you could compare pay slips or pay stubs across the periods. So if you weren't one of those people who get the same amount every couple of weeks in your bank, and it was difficult for people to understand why their paycheck had changed, but the dashboard enabled you to really zoom in on what's generating that change. Maybe you didn't understand it, but at least you could tell where it was, so you knew the question to ask. And we got a lot of positive feedback about people being able to just do that. It helped people to understand their payroll just a little bit better. Payroll is part of a process. It is not the process. Oftentimes when your paycheck is wrong, it's not because something happened in the payroll. It's because the data that was provided to payroll is incorrect. So I want to educate more broadly around the end-to-end process, as Kelsey talked about previously. And I want people to understand that payroll, their paycheck might be wrong, but it may be because of something else. It may be because maybe their manager just didn't send an approval for something on time. And to be able to recognize that. I think, for me, at the end of the day, we have a very large change management opportunity. And that's something that I think ADP has got lots of experience with, and they can help us to get through. I'm really looking forward, actually, to being able to address that more holistically for our employees across the HR services spectrum. And I believe ADP can help us in a big way with that.
One of the other things I think, can glean from this relationship is, can we impact the employee experience more by making sure that we're using ADP the best way we can? We've mentioned that it should be seamless to the employee. They shouldn't have to worry about which vendor we're using for payroll.
Right.
But behind the scenes, if we as a human resources organization and people services, we sometimes have too many people internally still supporting the end-to-end payroll process. So as we grow within the new systems that we're using and the upgrades that we're in the middle of doing to the Celergo platforms especially, I look forward to seeing more efficiencies within our team, so then we can contribute to focusing on the employee experience again as well.
Because I take it as a given that we're going to deliver, right? There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to get through the work, and with our partners together, we're going to deliver the solution. But the critical success factor is how well the employee receives the change, how well they understand what you're doing. And for me, change management is something that is the make or break in many transformations that I've been a part of.
Our employees need to stay in the labs, stay in the distribution facilities, and continue to do their work so that we're delivering services and medicines to our patients who need it more than taking the time to read something on a website to figure out how they're supposed to answer a payroll question.
Right. We don't want to distract or disrupt our employees from discovering, developing, and delivering innovative medicines that will help patients prevail over serious disease.